Thank you guys for joining us today on Real Talk. Race relations. That was my first experience of having somewhat of racial equality, somewhat of a diverse place where people of different backgrounds can get together and understand one another. Race relations was a course that I took in the spring semester of my senior year of college at Penn State. In this course, we had to sit in a room. It was about 6 to 9 of us and one moderator. But each of the students had to sit in a room and discuss things of racial or unfair type of nature. There were different ethnicities there. There were whites, there were blacks, there were Asians, Hispanics, there were Native Americans, there were Middle Easterns, there were Africans. There was a diverse mix. So the purpose of race relations is to have a diverse set of students discussing politics, racism, and things that cause tension in the world. Now, this was my first experience being able to feel heard, feel like my thoughts and my perspective actually mattered, even though I knew it wouldn't matter when I went out to the world. So that was my aha moment. And I said to myself, if we can get it right here in a classroom, why can't we do this on a global scale? And it got me thinking. One distinct difference between most of the ethnicities is that they have organized bodies to represent them and their needs, their wants, their needs, and their general activities. This is not true for Black people.
Now, what is racism to you?
Racism to me is more like a mindset, and it's a mindset that's rooted in fear. The reason why you're racist against another kind is because you do not understand. And with lack of understanding comes fear. So if you look at how white people treat Black people, they're always afraid of them, even if they have not had any negative experiences or never even seen a Black person in their life. So racism to me is just having a mindset based on fear that leads you to treat other people differently.
Can you eliminate racism and isms completely?
Wow, that's a tough one. I don't know if you can eliminate fully racism or isms in general, because everybody is on a varying scale depending on how much you make, depending on how tan or light your skin color is. It may be possible to eliminate the isms, but I think that they're always going to exist because it's very hard to get everybody to buy into one single thought, and racism has to do with education, because once you're educated, you now have a foundation on how to act, how to respond, and what to do in certain scenarios. It could be possible, but it's probably unlikely.
Now, if you don't mind, could you possibly tell us about your most racist experience?
I mean, where do I start? Every day, I'm sure every day of my life, when I was made aware that I was being treated differently, I've had a racist experience, from being pulled over by cops unfairly. You know, cops will pull me over and make bogus reasons that I ran a stop sign, I didn't signal, or it's no telling. And this happens in the Black community. They pull us over or they target us if they hear a car with loud bass, or if they see tints, or if it's a real sporty looking car. Cops have been trained to hone in on that. And I've experienced it there. My first week of school at Penn State, I was greeted by some Southern gentlemen who were in a pickup truck. It was about 4 or 5 of them riding around campus with a Confederate flag saying "F you niggers." So that was a pretty unsettling experience during school as well. You know, I have countless examples, but for now, those will suffice.
What do you feel is white privilege?
White privilege. I think white privilege is something that white people are born with inherently. So it's something that they have and they don't have to think about it. They don't have to work to attain the privilege. It just exists for them. this privilege that they have gives them unfair advantages and allows them unfair shortcuts in the maze of life that we all have to go through. So if you have an advantage in a game, and we're supposed to be starting the game off all at one space, and if you have an unfair advantage, like you know where the twists and turns are, you're going to probably do a lot better in the game than I will, especially if you know the rules, right?
Can other people have white privileges?
That's a good question. I think other people can have white privileges, but they won't be considered white privileges, or maybe they are. So let's say if a minority reaches a certain status as far as financially, he or she then may reap some of the benefits that white privilege has, because you will naturally be treated better when people know that you have money. People don't treat you well when you're a good human being, but they're more likely to treat you better when they know that you have money. So yes, I do think other people can have white privilege, but it won't benefit them the same way that it benefits the majority.
What would it mean for whites to give up their privilege?
For whites to give up their privileges, they would have to essentially start the race over. They no longer have a head start on everyone else, especially blacks. They would have to be on the same starting point as everyone else, and then we would be able to see. So if I'm judging you on your ability to fly and you're a fish, you're going to look like a pretty messed up bird, so to speak, because you don't fly, you swim. If white people were to give up their privileges, it would mean a reduced level of comfort, a reduced level of expectations, being more thoughtful about other people. Because, see, even having the white privilege is a mentality that you have, like you can just do whatever you want just because. And that part of the privilege is what some, or probably a lot of white people don't understand, or they're not consciously aware of their privilege to just get up and be and do whatever they want without ever having to look over their shoulders or worry or anything like that. So relinquishing this privilege would mean maybe starting to look over your shoulder more, or maybe being more human, I guess you could say. That's a real tough question, but I know that it would make them very uncomfortable, because the way that they think, the way that white people think, and the way that they operate, it would have to change.